No Man's Sky 4.0, the Waypoint update has released, and one of the first things you'll notice are new game modes including relaxed and custom. Difficulty settings can be tailored to what you want to play now, so let's go through how this works and what options you have. For starters, in the game mode screen you no longer see Permadeath directly available. Instead you'll see normal, relaxed, creative, expeditions, custom and survival. Think of these all as presets except for custom, in which after clicking you'll be presented with an array of options. The custom option is now the only way to start a permadeath save. You cannot activate or deactivate permadeath once a save has been made. I actually think this is a really good integrity move. Permadeath is used for achievements as well as bragging rights, so having it locked from save start is a smart move. However, all but one other option can be changed at will for most game modes. The options are split up into a few sections. The first focuses on survival. Survival elements control whether you need to recharge your life support or hazard technology. You can choose to not have to recharge at all, only recharge health, the need to recharge both health and hazards, or full. The in-game explanation doesn't go into any detail about the difference between both and full, so I'm not quite certain, but I expect that full may include a lack of health and shield recharging. As I'm showing these, you'll see a graphic of the default settings for these based on the game mode presets. Survival difficulty controls how quickly your life support and hazard protection are drained from use and hazards. There are 3 difficulties: relaxed, normal and challenging. Normal should be like it's always been in normal mode, challenging will be akin to survival and permadeath, and then relaxed, as you can imagine, is nice and chilled. You'll have lots of time before a storm starts taking down health. Natural resources covers what you get when mining minerals, foraging for flora like wheat and culling fauna. Once again, 3 options. Abundant will be the new one, likely doubling your yield, with standard being how it's always been and scarce being how survival and permadeath were, which is somewhere around 40 to 50% of normal mode. Next is sprinting. This didn't have differences between the game modes before, so it's infinite, relaxed and standard. Infinite is a great new option for many. I think we can all agree that it can suck to run out of sprint energy, and relaxed is normal except it does not cost life support to use. How quickly your scanner recharges is a great change too. This can be quite annoying to wait for. You can now choose very fast, fast, standard or challenging. I don't have the exact times for this, but I would wager that standard is what normal mode used to have, challenging is what survival and permadeath had, and fast and very fast are just great new options. Damage can be controlled from taking no damage at all the way up to survival and permadeath numbers. For reference, challenging will be double the damage of standard in most situations. Technology damage is next and is a somewhat new thing. Previously we could damage our tech on death or going through black holes, but now even fighting pirates and taking damage can damage your technology. This covers everything from taking environmental damage to hitting the ground hard. You can completely turn this off or dial it up to 11. Death consequences is one of the 2 things that cannot be fully changed after a save has been started. You can choose between no item loss on death, which means you just respawn and everything is as it was. Standard, where you have to hunt for your grave to retrieve them. Items destroyed, we don't yet know if this means all items in your main inventory at the time, so exosuit when walking or ship when flying, and then permadeath. Permadeath cannot be activated or deactivated once a save has been started. You either turn it on during the making of a custom difficulty save, or you never turn it on. The next section covers crafting and item settings. Starting with fuel usage, I tested this using a warp cell. There is a very high chance due to how HG make their game that this will either be a flat percentage difference over everything or will have its own percentage difference for products, resources and so on. I tested a warp cell on empty Hyperdrive to get a percentage of fill. On discounted it filled by 67%, on standard it was 25% and on expensive it was 17%. The most exact number was 25%, so it's safe to assume that standard is what every item will have as its value and modifier will be applied to that. With that in mind, the discounted setting will only require 37.5% of the materials to recharge versus normal, and expensive will require 150% of the item to recharge. Next is crafting, and it's nice and simple, it's either free to craft or normal. Recipes and blueprints is a nice touch you can choose to know all right away, though I should note this likely doesn't include Quicksilver blueprints, or learn them the normal way. Purchases can be changed in difficulty, making items worth more or less. This does not affect the basic value of an item as shown in the tooltip, but does affect how much it costs or can be sold for. As far as purchasing goes, the modifiers appear to be 80% of normal cost if you choose discounted, and 185% of normal cost if you choose expensive. It is possible that this doesn't just add a modifier but also changes the buy and sell modifier of the specific galactic trade terminal, so these are preliminary numbers. This also opens up an exploit and kind of makes it not an exploit now, as you can just buy with the discounted setting then sell with the expensive, though it is also possible that this, instead of changing the prices you get by a percent, boosts the buy and sell modifier itself, meaning that expensive will not just make things more expensive to buy but a worse deal to sell, in which case it's a very interesting option. The resource I tested this with was Cobalt, with a buy price of 87, 107 and 197 per one for the different settings. Goods availability is another great option that will reduce or increase the stock levels of trade terminals and traders that you interact with. Having three options, abundant, standard and scarce, this should stack on top of the differences you already see in 1, 2 and 3 star economies. Inventory stack limits is another thing you can control and is the only other option that will get locked based on what you choose. You can choose easier options, but once you've gone to easier you cannot go back to harder. This makes full sense, as you may have items in a stack size that would overflow when changing back to a more harsh stack size. I've tested this with resources which previously had a stack size of 9,999 on normal and 250 or 500 on survival and PD based on which inventory. While now you only have technology and cargo inventories no main, it would now be 10k and 500. Standard gives you a resource stack of 9,999, restricted is a classic survival and PD at 500, and the new harsh stack size option gives you 300 in your cargo. I did not have chance to check freighter slots for this, as it's a new option only obtainable from a fresh save, but I would wager it's either 500 or 600 in a freighter slot and storage container slot. Now we move to combat settings. You can control enemy strength, which will be how much it takes to destroy them, as we already have a setting for the damage you take, so enemies' health and potentially the amount of enemies in any given situation. On foot combat is the next option, and this controls how often you are likely to encounter enemies on foot. Space combat does the same for in-ship encounters. And creatures can also be controlled with a passive option, making all creatures completely friendly to you and making you a monster if you attack them, as they won't fight back. Defensive, meaning they'll only attack you if you attack them, and then predators on, which will make predatory fauna aggressive to you regardless of how you're acting. Then we move to the last section, ease of use. The first option is to turn on or off tutorial missions, which is a really nice touch. Many seasoned players will enjoy being able to skip this. Inventory transfer is another new option, allowing you to make it so you can interact with your starship's inventory and transfer no matter how far away you are. Hyperdrive system access allows you to keep it normal or warp to any system regardless of its spectral class, or whether you have the appropriate hyperdrive upgrade to get there, though it does not increase range. The base power option allows you to turn on base power with or without a hotspot. This was previously only on creative mode as an option. Reputation standing gain can be adjusted with 4 options. This will control how much reputation you gain from tasks and actions, but does not modify how quickly you lose it based on negative actions. And lastly is the starting slot option. You can choose to start your save with maximum inventory slots or normal. A great touch for those who just want to start exploring. These changes are pretty fantastic. We have a massive amount of control with how our game plays. I say that, but as you can expect, I'll be starting a new save on my next stream. I will be putting every single option to the worst, because I love me a challenge. Thank you for watching, folks. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss all the news and guides to this new update, and have a fantastic update day.